Midlife is a cruel time. A man reaches midlife and finds his body has begun to negotiate. It no longer obeys, it bargains. Desire arrives, but performance lingers at the door like a guest unsure of the invitation. This is called performance anxiety. Because midlife is a quiet and patient thief. It steals the spring from your step and puts a slight tremble in your hands. In the bedroom, this thief wears the heavy, suffocating coat of performance anxiety. Biology plays a cruel and predictable joke. When you cross the midpoint of your days, your nervous system becomes a traitor. Cortisol floods the blood, chasing away the chemistry you actually need for the act. Yes, for the intimate act. You worry about failing the task, and consequently, you fail. It is a simple, vicious, and entirely human circle. Man facing this is like an old fisherman who suddenly fears the open sea. He remembers perfectly how to cast the net, but his shoulders ache with a new doubt. The water feels deeper, and he imagines the fish are quietly mocking his eddying boat. Then, modern robotics offered a strange and synthetic salvation. But simple name for a complicated animal is performance anxiety. Before the robot comes, it lives in our mind and it feeds on the body. It is part psychology, part biology, and part the quiet tyranny of expectation. The brain, when anxious, starts the system with cortisol. Cortisol is not a lover, it is a watchman. It shuts down what it considers unnecessary. And in that moment, reproduction looks like a luxury, not a priority. At the same time, testosterone declines with age, not dramatically but enough to make you worry about your performance, enough to make confidence hesitate, enough to make the body slower to answer. And then comes memory. A man remembers who he was at 20. The body remembers who it is now. They do not agree. Now enter the machine, the love robot. A quiet promise of a partner that does not judge, does not hurry, and does not keep score. So, enter the love robot. This machine is a triumph of molded silicon, wide gears, and simple servo motors. The beauty of this early companion is not in its physical perfection, but in its absolute apathy. A robot of this generation usually slummocks. That means it behaves in an idle, vacant way, staring at the ceiling with lightless glass eyes. It does not care if you take 3 minutes or 30 minutes. It really doesn't care. It doesn't care about what you actually do in those intimate moments. It possesses the emotional depth of a household toaster. And you cannot differentiate between a toaster, whether you are making love with a toaster or a love robot. So for a man haunted by the judging, expectant eyes of a human partner, this idleness is a profound cure. It's nothing. And at present, many believe the robot is forgiving. It has stomachs, as I said, it waits, it adapts, it does not sigh in disappointment. And this matters more than people admit. It really matters, really, really matters. Because performance anxiety is not about performance. It is about being watched. Remove the gauge and the anxiety softens. Remove the judgment and the body often remembers what to do. So early studies in human-robot intimacy suggest these users report lower stress. It is very, very, very important. Stress is something that can kill you. Just simply kill you. Kill everything. Kill every present moments. Lower heart rate variability linked to anxiety. more exploratory behavior. In simple terms, the body relaxes when it feels safe. But safety is a very strange thing. It does not like to stay simple. Modern robotics is absolutely changing rapidly changing. AI systems, that means artificial intelligence systems, now are affective computing that deals with emotions. They read facial expressions, they detect micro changes in voice, they predict emotional states. So a love robot that once did not care, quote unquote, is beginning to care very precisely. And believe me, you simply perform well because the machine expects nothing at all. The performance anxiety vanishes because there is no jury left in the room. Nobody watches. So you are carefree. It is a perfect, logical, and entirely frictionless transaction. The absolute lack of humanity is exactly what heals the bruised human ego. And it really matters. Before we proceed, let me tell you one thing. If you have not subscribed yet, please subscribe. It means a lot to me. And if you have already subscribed, tons of thanks for your support. And why it matters? Because there is no feedback. There is no feedback. From your human partners, you always not only expect, but you get a feedback from their behavior, from their gaze, from their reactions. And that feedback could be very violent, could be very inappropriate, could be very unpredictable, uncertain, and that makes you worry, that makes you very stressful. But from a robot, only a quiet sound of humming fan, nothing else. That is their feedback. Hum of its cooling fan. However, science is rarely satisfied with living well enough alone. As an AI and robotics scientist, I can tell you, we are busy building our own traps. The field is currently obsessed with a discipline called affective computing. As I said, affective computing deals with emotions. We are teaching machines to read, process, and mimic human emotions with terrifying accuracy. We give them high-definition optical sensors to track the minute dilation of our eye movements. We write complex algorithms that analyze the micro expressions on our sweating face. We write complex algorithms like many things more, so that recent studies like the groundbreaking work honored at the 2026 ACM IEEE International Conference on Human-Robot Interaction show that machines are rapidly mastering social and emotional nuances. Is it good or is it bad? Because they are becoming humans. So you can expect a feedback now. Researchers are finding that robots can effectively supplement emotional learning, recognizing cues and responding with highly tailored dialogue. Consequently, they no longer just like a sacked bag of a grain on a rusted wagon. They are being actively programmed to respond, to adapt, and to simulate deep empathy. Is it good or is it bad? Because if a robot can detect hesitation, it can respond. If it can respond, it can optimize. If it can optimize, it can measure. And if it measures, it can judge. Now, the circle completes. Not morally, but statistically. Remember, human judges morally, but a love robot reads you, judges you statistically. It based on data. So recent research in human AI interaction shows that when systems provide performance feedback, even subtle feedback, users begin to self-monitor. Self-monitoring is the seed of anxiety, stress. So a study from a little bit earlier, 2024, in social robotics found that participants interacting with a highly responsive humanoid system reported increased pressure to perform well. Just it did in case of their human partners. Even when the system was non-human, they are suffering from that anxiety. The brain, it seems, does not care. If something behaves like a partner, it becomes a partner. And neuroscience agrees. The mirror neuron system activates not only with humans but also human-like agents. This means we simulate their perception of us, we imagine their judgment, even when nothing exists. So the robot that once freed us may begin to bind us again. It will not shout, it will not complain, but it may adjust its responses based on your behavior. And that is enough. I think that is enough. Because the human mind is a master of projection. Give it a hint of evaluation and it will write a full novel of insecurity. There is also a question of perfection. Robots do not tire. They do not age. They do not forget. So a partner that is always consistent becomes a mirror that shows inconsistency, and inconsistency breeds doubt. Yet there is a counter logic. Stubborn one. Very stubborn counter logic. Because humans adapt, isn't it? If a robot becomes too perfect, it may become less desirable. Yes, that is perfectly suitable for us. We don't want any perfect robot. Studies in human attraction suggest that slight unpredictability and imperfection increase comfort and bonding. So engineers already know this. They design controlled flaws, a delayed response, a softened reaction, a hint of randomness. In other words, they may teach robots to fail. Yes, they teach robots how to behave imperfectly. Not perfectly, but with slight imperfection. Not because they must, but because we need them to behave in that way. So where does this leave the man in midlife? Because this is a crisis, isn't it? This performance anxiety is a crisis. Because we stand between two mirrors. One reflects his past, the other reflects a machine that may soon reflect him too clearly. If the robot remains forgiving, it becomes a refuge. If it becomes perceptive, it becomes a taste. And perhaps the truth sits somewhere in between. So performance anxiety is not defeated by the absence of judgment. It is softened by the acceptance of imperfection. So we better deal with imperfect robot. Whether the partner is human or machine may matter less than we think. Because the real observer is not across the bed, it is inside the mind. And that observer does not switch off easily. Still there is humor in it, in all this type of facts, data. A man fears being judged by a machine he bought. Right? A machine that runs on code he could, in theory, unplug, just unplug it. If it starts judging you, unplug it. Or press the stop button. Yet, he will not unplug it. I'm telling you. Because the judgment he fears is not in the wares, it is in himself. And that, unlike any robot, is still very human. So, the robot is no longer slumming in the shadows. The jury is back in the bedroom. It is actively grading you. Grade A, grade B, grade C, like that. And the counter logic here is absolute and terrifying. By making the robot more human, we resurrect the exact psychological anxiety we built the robot to destroy. The famous uncanny valley, you may have heard of it, is no longer just about a creepy, lifeless stare. It has evolved into a psychological valley, place where a machine knows enough to make you feel fundamentally inadequate. We wanted a mindless, silent refuge from our fading youth and our failing nerves. Instead, we are spending billions of research dollars code an artificial critic. The human mind is an agile instrument, easily played by the persistent fear of judgment. When the algorithms finally learn how to judge, the midlife man will have no hair left. We have no hair left. No hair left. to hide ourselves. We'll be back on the deep, unforgiving sea, but this time his boat will be judged by the fish. Perhaps we should leave the humble, idle robots exactly as they are. Don't make them more like humans. Let them stay as imperfect. A smoking machine is a faithful, uncomplicated friend. Let it be idle, lazy. Let it be imperfect. An emotionally intelligent love robot is just another headache you have to buy expensive batteries for. So, think about it. That is it for today. I hope, as an intelligent and curious people, you find this type of topic interesting, and if you really find this topic interesting, then don't forget to hit the bell icon to get notified. And of course, if you have not subscribed yet, please subscribe. It means a lot to me. And if you have already subscribed, I'll request you to join the membership zone to support Wooden Slate, so that we can bring more and more topic on artificial intelligence, robotics, human relationship, our crisis, our loneliness, or everything, our existence, question of survival, everything. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Till then, goodbye. Stay safe and take care.